Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure crossed the field, and a loud shout instantly spread in all directions. Damn, that one from the Dan Temple, who do you say is looking for death? Even if you are from the Dan Temple, what? Here I am the owner, I have the final say, you love to shoot or not, do not obey the fuck off. Bang! The door of box number 1 was blown open with a kick, and the owner took the lead and led people to rush in. Instantly, there was a violent bone-crisping sound inside. In just a moment, a black-faced young man was thrown out, along with several entourage dressed in alchemist robes, and they were ruthlessly thrown out. Knock knock. They fell violently from the second floor, planted one after another to the ground, and fell to eat. Subsequently, the owner came down from the second floor, came straight to Suchanga, bowed his hand, and said with a smile, "Senior, please go up and sit." Boom! There was an uproar. Everyone's jaws almost dropped to the ground in shock. No one expected that things would change so quickly, how strong the Dan Temple was, but it was cleaned up in a blink of an eye. The owner is here, and no one in the auction hall dares to be presumptuous. You know, the owner is a black market dungeon, and behind him stands the black market creator, who dares to be presumptuous. The black market creator has a ban, and most of the Kanglan realm can only stay in the dungeon for one tea time, including the Dan Temple. Right now, everyone looked at Suchanga in shock, and only felt deep incredulity. Who is this young man who would let the owner do this? As for the people in the series of boxes upstairs, their faces were shocked, and their pupils showed thick disbelief. Who is this big guy, who actually made the owner of the field so respectfully? Shout one by one seniors, greeting the seat. Poof! The young man of the Dan Temple vomited several mouthfuls of blood. His chest was full of anger, but he did not dare to attack. He's just a young disciple of the Dan God Temple. If he comes over at the elder level, he may make the owner fearful, but he is a disciple. It is difficult. The more I think about it, the more angry I get, and the more I think about it, the more angry I get. The most important thing is that so many people on the scene are watching the people of the Dan Temple make ugly appearance. It is simply unreasonable. As an alchemist, he usually goes in and out of front of people, and he is extremely noble. When did he receive such bird chi? The more he thought about it, the more he couldn't swallow this breath. He waved his hand sharply at the entourage on the side, and said coldly, "Call the Tao Protector to reinforce." Immediately, someone took out a jade talisman and knocked it lightly, and the jade talisman suddenly erupted into a brilliant divine light, like a shooting star, transmitted to the outside world, towards the direction of the Dan God Temple. Calling someone? The black dragon's face turned grim. "I'm not targeting you." The young man sensed the anger of the black dragon, and his heart sank, and he hurriedly explained, "I just asked someone to come and send money. After all, there are a few precious lots next. What if the money is not enough?" Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8B. As he spoke, he stared at Suchanga with a pair of eyes, and snorted angrily. In his heart, "Provoke the Dan God Temple, don't think of good fruits to eat." The black dragon glared at him coldly, and shouted in a deep voice, "I advise you, don't make yourself uncomfortable." Immediately, he said respectfully to Suchanga, "Senior, please." Suchanga glanced at the young man of the Dan Temple indifferently, sneered, and went to box number 1. The young man of the Dan Temple, named Xue Huayu, was driven out of box number 1. But he did not leave, took out a stool from the storage bag and sat down, and auctioned it in the hall. Inside box 1, Suchanga took out a storage bag and handed it to the black dragon. Help me. Exchange this garbage for money. The bag contained nothing else, it was just retrieved from the middle-aged man. Who made the illusion? The black dragon opened the mouth of the bag and took a look, and immediately realized, and said with a smile, Senior, you are addicted to the pit. Suchanga didn't say much, took out a bag again, and said, exchange these for money as well. The black dragon took a look, and his body couldn't help but be stunned. This is the Millennium Stalactite. This bag contains stalactites and high-grade stalactites looted from stalactite caves, all kinds of which are very rare, and those stone rafts are extremely valuable. The black dragon recognized the goods at a glance, and was pleasantly surprised. This stone basket needs to be condensed for thousands of years to form. It is very rare, and it is almost impossible to buy it on the market. These precious stones of yours can make a lot of money. Changa wanted this sentence. His ultimate purpose in making money is just to improve his strength. Spirit stones are a panacea, which can not only be used to buy things, but also to absorb and improve cultivation. It's up to you. He waved and laughed. The black dragon will definitely satisfy the seniors. The black dragon clasped his fists, then summoned a waiter, and ordered, you disguise yourself, blend into the crowd, and go as a trust. The waiter instantly understood what he meant, and immediately put on a black robe, cloak and quietly blended into the crowd. The waiter was originally just wearing a waiter robe, but now he changed into a black robe and cloak, which was no different from the cultivators who normally entered the black market. Then, the black dragon retreated and brought the door with interest. Watching him go out, Su Lianyue seemed to understand what Gongzi was going to do. Come, sit. Suchanga greeted, and the second daughter lay down on the recliner with Xiao Yuer, quietly waiting to count the money. P.S. Thanks for the gift. Exploding Heavenly Gang Pill Medicine Pavilion Elder, Lucky Cat, Xiaoyao. God Sect Master, by Xiaoyao, Mei Xiangnan of Weiya City, Clear Breeze, and Moon, Cat of the Bay, Yufeng who loves to drink goji berries, user 144778860, Qinjiashan in Kyoto area, Shoshin, System Elder, Lin Fan. In addition, many big guys want to let the little author publish the complete realm of this book. I read it, there are more than 520 words, and it will undoubtedly occupy a lot of space, but in this chapter says, many big guys only care about reading the text and never look at this chapter, but if it is sent in the book circle, many people do not know how to read it, so that it can only be sent in the main text, but I am a little entangled. So, to send, or not to send? Ask for your opinion. This is that senior's thing, continue to auction it according to the way last time, be sure to auction it at a good price. The black dragon boarded the auction stand and whispered something to the fox-eared woman, then handed her 2 storage bags. A flash of essence flashed in the fox-eared woman's eyes, and she nodded. Subsequently, the black dragon stepped down. The fox-eared woman first picked up the storage bag full of garbage, raised it high to ensure that everyone in the auction hall could see it, and then said loudly, I originally planned to auction a lot, but just now the owner of the venue has an order, first auction this item. There is no other reason. This thing is so special. As soon as these words came out, everyone was instantly touched by nerves. Groove, special lot? Could it be a treasure? It's very possible, otherwise why did the owner stop something else first and shoot this first? Talk. Seeing that the atmosphere was almost the same, the corners of the fox-eared Woman's lips rose, and she continued to say aloud, this object is a strong man's personal storage bag, but that strong man was killed, the storage bag was robbed, and after several turns, it fell into the black market. In this storage bag, I don't know which bold person in the audience bought it to gamble, maybe he can drive something against the sky, and directly change his life against the sky. Starting price, 100,000 top-grade spirit stones. Now, start shooting. Huh? Everyone in the audience was stunned for a moment, and then reacted. Storage bags for the strong? Isn't it full of family money? Dare to ask the auctioneer, what kind of cultivation is this slain powerhouse you are talking about? Suddenly, someone in box 4 said in a deep voice. The fox-eared woman's eyes condensed slightly, and she said categorically, I can only tell you that it is a high-ranking person of the Holy Land. What? As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar around. Even the people of the Holy Land were killed, and storage bags were robbed? The person in box 4 trembled in his heart, looked at it in disbelief, and muttered, crazy, really crazy, someone dares to intercept the person of the Holy Land and snatch away one of his heritage, terrifying. Terrifying. Take it. Must be taken. This was not only his inner thought, countless people present, at this moment. Their eyes lit up, their breathing was rapid, and one after another their burning eyes were staring at the bag in the auctioneer's hand. Moment. Some people bid 200,000 top-grade spirit stones. The voice just fell. There was a sudden outbreak of looting in the field. 220,000. 230,000. 250,000. 300,000. Storage bags are rising at a frantic pace. 330,000. 340,000. 380,000. I grass, can you slow down? I didn't bring too much money when I went out. This time. A sect elder watched the looting in the field, even if he was very hungry, he couldn't do anything. 390,000. 400,000. 450,000. I'll give out 1,000,000. Suddenly, a voice came from the corner of the hall. The voice was thick, accompanied by terrifying coercion. Give this seat a face, since this storage bag is from the Holy Land, it must be terrifying. This seat is wanted, thank you for lifting. As soon as the words fell, many people's faces changed in unison. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. Although this person spoke very politely, the coercion seemed to be crushed by Tarzan, hiding a murderous plot. In box number 1, Su Lianyue heard that the bag was sold for 1,000,000 in just a few breaths, and her eyes suddenly widened, and she looked at Su Chang'e blankly. It turned out that Gongzi he just thought of this. Su Chang'e flicked his sleeves and said lightly, 1,000,000? It's also too little, I'm out. Before the words were finished, the black dragon in the field immediately shouted, your pattern is small, I will give 5,000,000. Shoo. Su Xianyue's small mouth suddenly opened wide, and she could almost stuff a banana into it. She naturally knew that it was dragging and talking. Oh my god, Gongzi, she felt that her Gongzi was so bad. In the auction hall, many people looked in the direction of the sound that was making the drag. All of them were shocked and felt incredible. Crazy? Direct 5,000,000? Not only these people felt crazy, but even the thick voice that brazenly threw out 1,000,000 just now also felt crazy and froze in place. Mother, it has increased 5-fold when it comes up, do you want to be so crazy? The fox-eared woman also looked at the drag, and sneered, your pattern is Also small, it's not a secret, this bag was sold by a distinguished guest. Here, at that time, even the owner was very excited when he saw this bag, and he was particularly itchy to see what was inside, and was willing to take out 10 million to buy this thing. But the distinguished guest said that he couldn't see this money, and the owner had to tearfully take it out for auction. Shoo! There was a gasp in the field. My mother, even the owner of the field, gave out 10 million, what is the horror? Treasure in that bag? Could it be that there are cash cow saplings in it? There is speculation. As soon as these words came out, it instantly caused a sensation. Boom! Shoo! How is it possible? How can it be a cash cow sapling? This can't be. That kind of sapling is extremely difficult to find. It is an innate spiritual root. Once planted in the soil, it will automatically produce spirit stones. All year round, how can that bag have such a treasure? The elder of a force can't believe it, but when he speaks, his eyes are burning, but he is just saying it to others, hoping that others will not rob him. And almost instantly, someone opened his mouth and said in horror, damn, even if it's not a cash cow sapling, it's almost the same. How can the high level of the Holy Land be a general? Anyone who walks out is a heavenly existence. Even if it is not a cash cow sapling, it is likely to be a strange gem. Some people added in their brains, it may also be an ancient Tao weapon or a peerless divine weapon. After all, if you can enter the field master's eyes, can it be a good stubble? Immediately, someone shouted, damn, the pattern has to be opened, I will give 13 million. Boom! A coercive pressure sounded like a death knell, echoing throughout the auction hall, and I saw a white-haired old woman shouting lowly, 15 million. Almost instantly, someone else broke out with strong coercion and scolded, pattern. Do you understand the pattern? Million. 21 million. 23 million. 25 million. 28 million. 30 million. The price of the bag skyrocketed at a terrifying speed, breaking through the 30 million mark in an instant. And it's still skyrocketing. 31 million. 32 million. 34 million. 35 million. Someone looked at the rapidly rising price, swallowed his saliva, gritted his teeth fiercely, took out a book of exercises from his pocket and shouted. This thing is stepping on the heaven true yuan energy, once cultivated, the strength of the flesh soared by a million caddies in place. Owner, deal with you at a low price, I will scrape together money. In box number 1, Su Xianyue is numb. It didn't take long for the man to successfully scrape together the money. Raise his head high, and shout, 36 million. Not to be outdone, the other said, 38 million. 39 million and 20 million. 39.5 million. 39.7 million. 308 million. 40 million. Everyone in the field is crazy, their eyes are burning at the storage bag. The divine sense sweeps away and can't feel any breath in the storage bag. How can the garbage have a terrifying aura? But in their eyes, the absence of breath just means that it is extremely terrifying, and they vaguely guess that it is by no means an ordinary supreme treasure. After all, the Black Dragon auction house has a black market background. How can it be fraudulent? Although they don't add much now, they have also reached the limit of their foundation, and at this time they have completely entered the time of fighting bayonets, and every spirit stone is the last straw that crushes the camel. Another person also said, 48 million. When he spoke, he looked at the rapidly soaring storage bag, his chest rose, and fell violently, and his breathing was rapid, anyone knew that the things of the Holy Land were extremely extraordinary, and even when he finished speaking, he had automatically made up in his mind what a divine thing it was. It was likely to be a secret method that was not passed down from the Holy Land, and it was very likely to be a terrifying ultimate technique. In short, even if he fought the old bottom today, he had to take it. Really? Rising to the level of 48 million, the field calmed down. The camel's straw crushed. None of the people in the hall are ordinary people today, but to the point of fighting bayonets now. There are only a few spirit stones left on the body. Although there is no money, but all of them are fiery eyes, and then gritted their teeth, and took out the underlying exercises on their bodies, gemstone, agate, spirit sword halberds, and in an instant, the hall divine light flickered, and the extremely sharp aura burst out. Owner, sell for money. Owner. Owner. All. The people are smashing pots and selling iron, even if they give everything they have today. Speak at the same time. These people are also constantly thinking in their hearts, is it worth it to change the bag with all the old bottoms on their bodies? A moment later, the result came to mind. Value. A high-ranking member of the Holy Land fell outside, and only the black market, a place where people eat people, can release this thing, and the owner of the farm, as the first person to pass the hand, has not been able to eat this thing for 10 million, and now think that 10 million is somewhat not enough, and the owner is also stingy. Soon, the owners rushed over, smiled and accepted their things, and offered a reasonable and profitable price. In an instant, everyone was ready to go, full of energy. 50 million. When he was rich, his confidence immediately rose layer by layer, and a black-robed man in the corner of the hall directly came out with a 50 million integer. However, this price is just out for a second. Immediately submerged. 55 million. 56 million. 57 million. 58 million and 20,000. 58 million. 5,008. The dispute has completely reached the white-hot stage. Countless people feel whether they are crazy. You must know that any auction house in the outside world will not produce such a grand situation, in order to compete for a bag to pay all the value of the body, but this is the black market, the land outside the law, the domain of chaos. It is not unusual to say what a terrifying situation. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8B. Box 6. Box 5. Box 4. Box 3. Box 2. It's all a heart-fluttering row is their high status, but listening to the terrifying rise in the hall, adrenaline soars one after another. His face is flushed, and he mutters, crazy, completely crazy, so tens of millions are enough to buy how many things, for a fight, is it worth it? The words fell. Meditate in his heart, value. Money is a lot, but if you really drive something against the sky, change your life against the sky on the spot, and turn your bicycle into a motorcycle, how can you say it is worth it? Because of the value. Box 6 directly offered 60 million. Shoo. As soon as it came up, a high price of 60 million was paid, and countless people were all gasping, their eyes were turbulent, their chests were heaving. They knew that the next battlefield had been transferred to the box, and the big people inside were not something they could afford to provoke, regardless of their financial strength or strength. The host domain martial artist is here, 65 million. Suddenly, a voice came from box 5. The sound is thick. As the sound sounded, coercion like a hearse struck. Box 6's mouth twitched, and his pupils contracted without speaking again. Host domain martial artist. The doors are all martial gods starting out, and all the doors are powerful. How family. A true rich family. Can't afford to mess with it. Immediately said, the martial artist is mighty. Humph. There was a cold snort of victory from Box 5, and he also said, is there anyone else following? Yes. Box number 4 immediately heard the voice of competition, Golden Ancient. Clan. 70 million. Boom. The venue was almost boiling like a frying pot, and everyone felt terrified. It turned out that there were so many big people in this auction. And the competition had completely reached a fever pitch. Humph. A cold snort of disdain came from the second box, the ancient royal family is here, 80 million. Those who are not afraid of death can follow. Shoo. A neat gasping sound suddenly sounded in the field. Ancient royalty. From antiquity. It stands today. I don't know how many years of changes have passed and stood immortal. Ask the world. Who dares to mess with it? 100 million. Abrupt. A voice resounded. Like the sound of dragons roaring, tigers and leopards boiling. In an instant, there was a scream in the field, and everyone couldn't hold back the boiling cultivation in their bodies, and they shot up. 100 million. Heavenly high price. 100 million. As this number came out, everyone gasped, oh my God. Someone brazenly took out 100 million? The most important voice did not come from the box, but from the hall, and the rows of people turned their heads, to look, only to see a figure in the hall standing up from the stool. It turned out to be Shui Huayu, shouting, I give out 100 million. If someone follows. Hugh blames Lao Tzu for turning his face and not recognizing people. I grass. The Dan Temple is awesome, the Dan Temple is powerful, now I want to blatantly pocket the things of the Holy Land with my own strength. The series of boxes number 3 and number 6 all nodded and agreed they could not compete, and they did not dare to compete. After all, the Dan Temple was extremely difficult to provoke, and the network behind it was intricate, and only people with backgrounds such as the owner did not put him in their eyes. Box 2 was stunned for a moment and did not speak again. Although it is said that as an ancient royal family, it is not afraid of the Pill Temple, but it is somewhat redundant to offend one alchemy force, if it is because of this, it is not something that can be solved by 80 million in the vicissitudes of the world. Suddenly, someone looked up. His eyes looked at box 1. Will the young man in box number 1 make a move? He is a figure that even the owner has to treat respectfully. This time the Dan Temple is asking for 100 million. Will he cut off his beard? This person's mouth is messy. Just now the big guy did not say a word and the owner automatically pressed the Dan Temple, and now even the ancient royal family has stopped under the powerful network of the Dan Temple. Will he make a move? Box 1. The corners of Su Chunga's mouth raised upward, revealing a weird smile, and muttered in a low voice, it is worthy of the Dan God Temple, these alchemists are rich. This time I have encountered a fat sheep. Open the slaughter. Phew. On the side, Su Lianyue couldn't help but take a deep breath. Her wrist was trembling slightly, and she was really shocked by Su Chunga's commotion. As for the small phagocytosis, she felt nothing. She thought that with the spirit of the owner, this little money drizzled. After all, if you can get her 4,850 trillion people, that can be ordinary people? 100 million is too little. there must be heavy treasures in that bag. I will give out 200 million. A faint voice came from Su Chang's mouth. In an instant, Su Xianyue's body trembled, and her mouth opened hugely, almost able to stuff 2 eggs. Son. Good or bad? Hearing that the number 1 box really made a move, all the boxes sighed, and sighed. It is worthy of the number 1 box. If it is really rich, it is blatantly fighting with the Dan God Temple. All the figures in the hall also sighed one after another, and for a while all kinds of gossip in the huge hall were endless. Listening to the ups and downs around him, Xue Huayu felt hot on his face, gritted his teeth and said angrily, 240 million. 280 million. 290 million. Xue Huayu spoke again. He had already lost face once, and he must not lose it a second time, and this was the storage bag of the powerhouse of the Holy Land. He must get it. Just added 10 million? Are you running out of money? A mocking voice came faintly from box 1. Xue Huayu's eyes were red all of a sudden, his face was even hotter. He suddenly took out a large handful of pills, and in an instant, the rich Danxiang came to his nose, and the entire auction hall was filled with Danxiang. Countless people sniffed it gently, and suddenly felt the indescribable happiness in the body. Even the hidden diseases accumulated over the years were instantly healed, and he couldn't help but shrink his pupils. Suddenly, shocked, good pills. What is this for? Scrape together money? Sure enough. Xue Huayu looked at the owner and shouted, Farm owner, these pills are all valuable prefecture-grade pills. Now all of them are processed at a low price. Quickly scrape together money for me. In the number 1 box, when Su Lianyue heard this, her beautiful eyes condensed in an instant, and she admired Gongzi in her heart. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. No problem, the Black Dragon auction house is dedicated to serving you. The Black Dragon stepped forward and accepted all the pills with a smile, and then gave a reasonable number. Soon, the 2 sides negotiated, and Xue Huayu got 200 million spirit stones. Combined with the 290 million before him, there are a total of 490 million in his hands. Su Chang'e silently calculated this, and said coldly, Brother of the Dan God Temple, how much do you plan to give? 350 million. Xue Huayu straightened his waist high, his expression was soaring, and his spirit was full of spirit. Okay, then I'll give 400 million. Su Chang'e did not press too hard. Xue Huayu immediately uttered a terrifying number, 450 million. Everyone in the audience is blinded. Xue Huayu is worthy of being from the Dan God Temple, and in terms of the degree of wealth, I am afraid it is even stronger than the number 1 box. At the same time, they also had questions in their hearts. Who is the big man in box number 1, and has such strong financial resources? Su Chang'e said coldly, 480 million. This number, only 10 million short, can get all the money in Xue Huayu's hands. Xue Huayu felt a little bad, but he was not in a hurry. He had not only those pills on him, but also many of the same pills, gritting his teeth and drinking. 490. Su Chang'e was about to speak, when suddenly there was a bang, and a purple-robed old servant with a thick aura entered the field and came straight to Xue Huayu's side. When Xue Huayu saw the person coming, he was overjoyed and laughed towards the number 1 box. Boy, my protector is here. If you continue to follow the price, you will bear the consequences. Boom. The protector snorted coldly, and a majestic coercive pressure swept out from the body, like a deep sea-like pressure that raged above everyone's heads in an instant, and in an instant, everyone in the field gasped, unable to breathe under this coercion, palpitations, and collapsed to the ground. Seeing the Tao protector coming, Su Chang's eyes froze, and he didn't plan to follow anymore. It's not a matter of strength. Shui Huayu, a hot brain, may be fine, but that guardian is quite old, and his life experience must be rich. If he presses too hard, it will not be good for the other party to detect something. It's better not to be too greedy. Thinking of this, he looked out and said, the Dan God Temple really deserves its name, and the juniors admire it. Even so, then this bag belongs to you. The big guy. In an instant, the corners of Shui Huayu's mouth raised, releasing the expression of victory, and said with joy, I forgive you and don't dare to bid again. Soon, 490 million spirit stones were all delivered to the owner through the auctioneer's hands. Afterwards, the auctioneer returned to the stage and said, that distinguished guest still has one more thing to consign here, and when the auction is finished, when the time comes, the storage bag of that Holy Land powerhouse will be taken out together. Immediately, took out another bag, looked at the audience, and introduced loudly, what is stored here is a natural nourishment, stalactite. In addition, there are all kinds of stalactites, rare stalagmites, and there are enough bags full of them, and the number is so large that I have never seen them in my life. The whole bag is auctioned, the starting price, 30 million top-grade spirit stones. Now, start the auction. After that, she casually took out a stalactite and raised it high, and the shining strange treasure light suddenly overflowed the entire auction hall, shining brightly, like stars twinkling. When the audience saw this shining and brilliant stone, they were all suddenly excited, and one couldn't help it, and his eyes were round. P.S. Thanks to yesterday, Zhongzhou Emperor Domainqingdi. Inspiration capsule. For rewarding, crab, thank you very much. My grass, it turned out to be this strange stone. Look at this pure treasure, it should be obtained from 1,000-year-old precious cave. This kind of treasure, this seat has not encountered in most of my life. You've only been for most of your life? It's not a secret, the old man has lived for more than 2,000 years, and he has never seen a real stalactite. Only listened to legends, never seen. I really didn't expect that this time there would be such a treasure that is rare in 1,000 years, and it really has to be on the black market to buy things. Stalactite can be used to cast divine weapons, and it can also be fused with fine iron to create divine armor. It can also absorb and quench your own body. There is an armor weapon created by the fusion of stalactites, which is strong and sharp, and will not be damaged for a long time. As for stalactites, they are stronger, if they are ground into fine powder and put into medicine. They can not only increase the success rate of refining pills, but also amplify the grade of pills, and the medicinal effect skyrockets. Treasure. What a proper treasure. It's still a whole bag. If you can take it all, the owner will definitely be greatly rewarded when he goes back, and this is issued. The atmosphere in the field was almost exploded. Everyone stood up excitedly, staring at the fox-eared woman's hands, their eyes shining, greedy eyes staring at those hands like hungry wolves seeing food, and some people secretly contacted the family to let people come and send money. Take it. Must be taken. Whatever it takes. These thoughts flashed violently in the hearts of countless people, almost everyone's consensus. It is really almost a golden oil, alchemists can be Used, forgers can be used, even if they don't use it, they can be absorbed too. Temper themselves. How not to drive people crazy. The competition began. 40 million top-grade spirit stones. Box number 5 blurted out, not even. Thinking, not giving others a chance to react, but also thinking that if he could take this batch of strange stones and go back to forge armored weapons, the entire martial artist's combat effectiveness would increase a lot. This wave, steady. Damn, martial artist, your mouth is like the discharge of the Yellow River. Box number 4 cursed fiercely, and immediately began a price. 50 million. Directly using the interval of adding 10 million top-grade spirit stones, to prevent others from competing. Sure enough, there was a momentary silence in the field, but it was quickly broken, only to hear a cultivator in the hall take a deep breath and spit out a number, 65 million. Boom. There was an uproar. Why did someone bid in the hall? If he had such financial resources, wouldn't he have been invited into the box a long time ago, and would he have fallen into this hall? They all turned their heads to look. I saw that the person who spoke was a strangely short man, facing everyone's shocked gaze. He smiled and said, I can't afford it, anyway. In the end, the people in the box are in the pocket, so why am I just an addict? Snap. Someone slapped him hard and directly slapped him out of the auction hall, and the glass ballast was splattered to the ground. Subsequently, real competition start completely. This thing and even treasure, I will give out 61 million. I'll give out 63 million. I'm out of 65 million. I'm out of 69 million. 70 million. The price of stalactite rock soared rapidly. On the auction table, the fox-eared woman had experienced countless auctions in her life, but she was slightly stunned at the moment, but the speed of this price increase was too fast, making her dizzy. Almost before she could react, it soared to the 70 million level. 73 million. 75 million. 79 million. 79.5 million. Crazy competition. At this moment, everyone's eyes were scorching, looking at the precious stalactite like a golden oil. Their eyes were shining, and they wanted to immediately grab it and run away. But here is the black market. I don't know how many powerful stubbles are hidden. How can they do such a crazy thing? Also in an instant, box number 3 spit out a number, 100 million. 100 million. What a horrible number. I vaguely remember that just now it was the people of the Dan Temple who spit out this number and caused a sensation, and now the auction has only been in the first 2 breaths and has already risen to this number, which cannot be described as not strong, not crazy. Crazy, I feel like I'm crazy. This is already my limit, no matter how much I can't take out. Although the third box took out so much, it also smiled bitterly, but immediately sent out a transmission to ask foreign aid to come and send money. But he didn't have a bottom in his heart, and when reinforcements sent money, I was afraid that this thing would have already been spent in his house. Really? A figure of 100 million. Less than an instant. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8B. Just drowned. 111 million. 120 million. 130 million. 150 million. Prices have soared. Crazy skyrocketing. In the ongoing. In the high rise. 153 million. 155 million. 159 million. 160 million. 200 million. Suddenly someone spoke, directly gave a sky-high price of 200 million. This is already a terrifying number, countless people heard it and felt a trance. Oh my god, an auction, directly did a sky-high price of 200 million, and let others live? At the moment of waking up, he realized that these words were originally spoken by people in the hall. Is it the Dan Temple? Turn your head and look. Sure enough, it was him. 200 million, if no one follows, this thing will belong to me. Shui. Huayu took 200 million spirit stones from the protector with high spirits. His chest was high, his body was rising steadily, and his face was full of spring breeze. Countless people remained silent. Dan Temple. There are too many networks behind it, and no one dares to provoke them easily. Even the royal family that has stood for thousands of years since ancient times is also very important, not to mention provoking, if you can make good friends. Maybe the Dan Temple knows the hidden sect of the Taishan Daozong. And therefore, after the sky-high price of 200 million was played, the scene fell directly into silence. But soon, a sentence came out of box number 1, 200 million stops? I also look down on those stalactites too much, and I give out 300 million. Huh? Everyone was stunned for a moment. They all felt shocked. 300 million? Extreme numbers. Who exactly is sitting in box 1? He actually with the Dan Temple 3 times and again. Could it be that the people of the Taishan Dao sect came here? 300 million? How old are you when you step on a horse, and you dare to fight with my Dan God Temple? I will give out 400 million. As soon as Shui Huayu said this, his figure suddenly darkened, and a cloud of divine light appeared on his body, and a pulling force came, and he was directly teleported out. Not good. Time's up. You wait for Lao Tzu. No one is allowed to bid. Lao Tzu immediately comes in. Wait. Before leaving, he burned his essence blood and said a cruel word. But for a moment, he did re-enter and went straight into the hall. His eyes swept, but he didn't start bidding. I waited for a quarter of an hour. He looked up at box number 1 and said coldly, I came a quarter of an hour earlier than you. Just now my time was teleported out, and now I came in and it was full for a quarter of an hour. Why haven't you arrived yet? Yes. Someone also reacted at this time, wondering, why didn't the people in box number 1 have anything? In other words, he won't time out? Waited another quarter of an hour. Box 1 did not emit any transmission sounds. Shui Huayu was furious, and shouted violently at the top of his throat, Farm owner! I'm going to hear an explanation. No comment. The black dragon replied in a deep voice. Shui Huayu was furious, stomped his foot sharply, and shouted to the guardians beside him, go outside and ask that powerful figure leader to come. No matter how much it costs, bring him to me. I want to see if box 1 can turn over today. Whoosh. The guardian turned into a ray of light and left. Soon, cascading figures appeared above the black market, and a powerful aura covered all directions, like black clouds pressing horizontally, falling into the auction hall, and it was the leader of a powerful figure who arrived. Shui Huayu immediately greeted him and said in a deep voice, Senior, Junior. Dares to ask, why was I teleported out when the time came, and the people in box number 1 didn't have anything? Facing his questioning, the leader of the powerful figure glanced at box 1, and then said in a deep voice, Are you teaching me to do things? Don't dare not dare, the junior is just suspicious in his heart, so I ask. Shui Huayu clasped his fists with a smile on his face, but he also knew that no one would believe him when he said this. Not waiting for the powerful figure leader to reply, he directly took out 300 million spirit stones, and in an instant, the rich spiritual energy swept out like a rime, and countless people shining with golden light could not open their eyes, as the rich and invincible country of the Dan God Temple. It is by no means an ordinary force can vainly try, looking at the powerful figure and handing over, Senior, since you are not willing to answer, then it is easy to do, I am willing to spend a sky-high price to invite the black market creator over, no matter how much it costs, I will let the number 1 box get out of the auction hall. Lost face once. Twice I lost face. And even if a powerful figure is called. But I didn't expect to eat a closed-door soup. This tone. You have to earn it back. The leader of the powerful figure snorted coldly and was about to refuse, but at this moment, a voice came from the number 1 box, and after he closed his eyes and listened carefully, he said, "Wait for me." Soar. The powerful figure escaped from the auction hall, and then secretly returned to the 2nd floor, came to the number 1 box, pushed the door in and then closed the door, casually arranged a formation to isolate the voice, and respectfully said, "Big brother, you call me?" Su Chang'e said with a smile, "Promise him, let him pay, let the maid next to me pretend to be the black market creator, and when the plan succeeds, we will share his money." Shu. The powerful figure leader left in a cold sweat on the spot. Pretending to be a black market maker? My God, don't be so daring. Trembling said, "Big brother, this is not easy to handle. What is the identity of the black market founder? Even many holy places have to be enshrined as guests. You send someone to impersonate him. This courage is too big. If it leaks out, you will fall into the creator's eternal chase, and the end is extremely miserable." Su Chang'e directly took out a gilded token and lit up. Just for a moment, the powerful figure leader suddenly shook his body, his heart trembled twice, and an extreme shock surged into his heart. "Is my identity enough?" An indifferent voice spit out. The powerful figure returned to his senses, shocked into a cold sweat. Trembling and shocked, "It turns out that you, big guy, the little brother has seen the big guy," he said. Firm gasp for air. It turned out to be the big guy of the Hidden World sect. I grass, what did he? Danshan Temple take to fight with the big guy? Su Chang'e said lightly, "Go, when things are successful, we will make money with this money." Whoosh. The powerful figure has become more respectful and respectful, if it was just shouting big brother before, but now it is a respectful body throw. It is actually the big man of the hidden world. Today it can be regarded as a new acquaintance. This layer of identity goes out. The Holy Land is a guest? Count a bird. Those Holy Lord levels were like ants in front of a miscellaneous servant, nodding and pouring tea on their waists. And now that a closed disciple has appeared, this, let me ask, which Lord of the Holy Land is not like a frightened bird, trembling? For a while, his legs trembled, and he looked trembling at the maid standing on the side. Under the maid's huge black-robed cloak, it faintly revealed the breath of a saint. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. Shu. Saint. Sage. The powerful figure leader was strong and startled, and his face turned pale. Oh my God, Saint? The Saint's handmaid with you? It's simply. He couldn't describe his shock in words, until he walked out, and he still felt that the scene just now was a dream. Soon, he escaped from the auction hall, suspected of going to the black market. Creator. Not long after, he came back again, strode to Shui Huayu, looked at him like a fool, coughed to suppress the tumbling emotions in his heart, and said, "You are lucky," the black market founder agreed. Shui Huayu was overjoyed, his head was raised high, and he shouted towards the number 1 box, "See, money can make ghosts push and grind, wait for the black market creator to come, I hope you can still sit still." The words fell. There was no sound coming from box 1. It was as if he had been ignored. Grass. Shui Huayu suddenly felt a tumulting on his face, like a punch on cotton, and filled his chest with anger. However, he quickly adjusted his mentality and sat firmly on the fishing platform. Hee, see how long you can sit. Not often. Outside the auction hall, a vast starry breath covered it, like a deep and matchless sun sweeping. Even the stars in the sky could not compare with it. Although they did not deliberately release coercion, but everyone slightly sensed that breath was not a change in face, gasped, and felt a god who was pressing the world, walking towards them step by step. The footsteps are approaching. In the blink of an eye, we arrived at the door of the auction hall. Shoo! 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 One by one, his eyes widened, almost shocked, and his lips twitched, and he said, "Saint. Sage." Plop. 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 A large piece of kneeling in the field. "Welcome to the saint. Welcome to the saint." But for a moment, the figure entered the portal, and his steps were not fast, but it seemed to trample on everyone's hearts. At this moment, people seemed to see a majestic figure holding an extreme holy soldier, guarding the great wall of the starry sky alone, slashing out with a sword, and arbitrarily ruling eternity. That is, a trace of coercion overflowed, everyone's hearts were swollen, and their backs were cold, like a Mang's back. They did not dare to speak loudly, fearing the saint. Shoo! It's terrifying. 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 It's worthy of such a terrifying identity of a big person. It's rare to see. It turns out to be a saint level. Shoo! I felt that the Tao heart in my body could not be stabilized. A mighty figure, dressed in a black robe, wearing a cloak on his head, and filled with the coercion of a saint, walked into the entrance. Senior. Predecessor. Shui Huayu was about to be happy, and immediately greeted him, and patted the horse. "Thank you, Senior, with you here, even if the people in the number 1 box have a heavenly identity, what can they do? You say a number, as long as you can get him out of the auction hall, even if you pay more money, the junior will not hesitate." Under the cloak, Su Lianyue glanced at him with a complicated expression, changed her voice, and said, 1 billion. Owner. Shui Huayu immediately took out a storage ring and threw it out. "These are all prefecture-grade elixirs, but if you can't ask for it, throw it at a low price, and take the money." Good to say, good to say. The owner was naturally happy and quickly took it out. In the blink of an eye, the transaction was completed. A storage bag full of 1 billion top-grade spirit stones was thrown over. Shui Huayu took it in his hand excitedly, and then immediately presented it to Su Lianyue. Feeling the vast saint's coercion, his heart was shocked, and he said, "Senior, the money has been collected. Please get out of your horse and drive him out." Su Lianyue did not speak, just silently took the storage bag, only felt that the bag was extremely heavy. The divine sense swept away 1 billion spirit stones. A lot. The heart was happy, and the secret Dao Gongzi was simply not too bad. But he did not show his voice, turned upstairs, and approached the number 1 box. Step by step. Look at this figure and walk into the past. Everyone in the audience was shocked. The founder of the black market personally came forward, and the people in box number 1 could not continue to stay? The devil knows how he got the time out just now, but now that the creator is coming, he should be thrown out without a breath. Knock knock, a knock sounded on the door. Su Xianyue changed her voice and said in a deep voice, "Number 1, please?" It turned out that the founder came, and the junior stopped bothering, and left. With a creak, the box door opened, and Su Chang'e led Xiaoyu out. "Hanza personally invites you out." Under the cloak, Su Xianyue said in a deep voice. These words were purely deliberately heard by Xue Huayu. "That's boring." Su Chang'e naturally understood, and nodded quietly. Then the 3 lifted their feet, walked out of the auction hall, and then escaped from the black market. Seeing that the people in box number 1 were invited out of the black market, Xue Huayu suddenly felt a bad breath, raised his eyebrows, and said, "Ha ha ha, how can you fight with me now?" Although it cost an extra billion, this evil breath came out, and there was no face of the Daiyudan temple. The people of the Dan temple walked outside, noble and full of arrogance. How could they break the sand and sink the sand? The owner Black Dragon approached at this time and asked the powerful figure in a low voice, "That person just now, is the Creator Lord?" "You know what, that's much stronger than the founder." The powerful figure leader transmitted the voice back. "Shoo." Knowing the real situation, the owner's entire face twitched violently, his heart trembled, and cold sweat broke out on his back. It turned out that the friend I made that day turned out to be. "Now, hug your thighs." "Hey, the second lot, 400 million, if no one follows, it's mine." Xue Huayu's waist stood straight, and he drank with great spirits. Where would anyone dare to fight again? Never. It's yours. We give up. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8B. In an instant, the 2 storage bags fell into Xue Huayu's hands one after the other. His heart was greatly happy, his face was ecstatic, and he immediately couldn't wait to open it. But when he opened it, the expression on his face stiffened violently. His expression was solemn, his pupils contracted, and he shrank and shrunk. And he couldn't believe his eyes. "What's going on?" The protector, behind him, asked suspiciously. The expression on Xue Huayu's face went from ecstasy at the beginning, to doubt, to shock, and finally, and then twisted, hideous. "What? How is this possible? Fuck, how could it be all rubbish in this? As far as the eye can see, where there are any treasures, where there are holy land things, extreme exercises, just a few pieces of chinting armor made of yellow level soldiers and waste, willow leaf whip. Garbage, all garbage." Then, extreme anger erupted, Xue Huayu's face was distorted, his mouth was crooked, and he shouted madly, "Owner! Give Lao Tzu an explanation." Without the need for the owner to speak, the leader of the powerful figure stepped forward, and the thick coercion broke out, and said in a deep voice, "It is a gamble itself, willing to gamble and lose. How, the Dang Dan Temple can't afford to lose?" Xue Huayu's mouth twitched, and he was speechless. If he had known, how could he have photographed such a bag of garbage? He quickly looked at another bag, but fortunately, the other bag was full of shiny stalactites and high-grade stalactites. This was only a slight sigh of Relief, but only for a moment, thinking that it took a full billion more to shoot these things. He suddenly became angry and attacked, his face turned blue, and he trembled. Apologetic. Wait a minute. He wanted the protector to make a move, but thinking of the terrifying sage coercion of the black market creator, just now, he suddenly snorted fiercely, and realized that he wanted to do crazy things in the black market territory, and he didn't want to live? The clenched fist clicked, slammed, and slammed the door. The figure of the powerful figure leader emerged. Big brother, I really can't help it, let you wait a little longer. He handed it over. Suchunga waved his hand and smiled. It's okay, what about the money? It's all here. The powerful figurehead received a void ring, that bag of garbage shot 490 million, full bag of stalactites shot 400 million, total. Suchunga's face was full of red light, and he took out the billion spirit stones handed over by Fong Kaier from his hand, and said, together, it's 1.89 billion. Congratulations, big brother. The powerful figure applauds. Suchunga looked down at the billion spirit stones and asked lightly, how many points are you and me with this billion? The powerful figure took a deep breath and said, big brother can't help it, how dare little brother, just take it. Suchunga was not a pretentious person, naturally agreed, smiled slightly, and said, okay, see you next time. As soon as the words fell, he sacrificed the rainbow sword and led the two women to rise up in the sky and return towards the sect. It's time to find a beautiful master to brush tens of billions of subsidies. As for brushing money, he doesn't really care. What he cares about is what strange treasures can be brushed out by the ultimate flame attribute beast core. There is also the dragon pattern divine gold found from the antique stall. What kind of divine gold will be subsidized by the system? P.S. Thank you for the inspiration capsule rewarded by Flamingo of Scattered Star Pavilion yesterday, and the inspiration capsule for the Fried Heavenly Gang, Chief Disciple, reward. And 2 bobo milk teas from Lulu Gonaja, sure. C's from the Miura Peninsula, and at S Milk Tea. In addition, there is a small oversight earlier, Dragon Pattern Cloud Gold and Cloud Gold Divine Stone are almost the same name, and have been modified to Dragon Pattern Divine Gold. I hope you all know about it. Finally, do you feel that this year's weather is a bit strange? It's clearly summer, but it's snowing in the west. After a period of flight, at dawn, Suchunga, Lear and Xiaoyu successfully returned to the sect. Fallen to the peak, pushed the door into the hut. Ah, it's home. Su Lianyue breathed a long sigh of relief, let go of her posture, and lay down. On the bed, her posture was like Guyu's paralysis. It's not that I'm tired, but I went out for a walk, came back, and felt like home. It's small, but it's home. Xiaoyu still did not change back to the Tengu form, but like Su Lianyue, he let go of his posture and lay down on the bed. Anyway, this is the owner's bed, and it is not an outsider, so there is no need to maintain a posture that no one should enter as in front of others. Suchunga looked at the two sisters who were quite lazy and liberated, smiled, also let go of their posture, and suddenly lay down on the bed. Fortunately, although this bed is small, it is strong enough and not crushed. Xiaoyu and Su Xianyue are slender, their waists are like thin willows, and they are beautiful, and the three of them lie on it together, although they are crowded and almost next to each other, but they can sleep well if they make do. After taking a short break, Suchunga got up and began to get down to business. He first packed up all the 1.89 billion spirit stones, gathered them into a storage ring, and then ran the quenching spirit secret technique and began to remove impurities. Among the top-grade spirit stones, impurities are already quite rare, but it is impossible to say that there are none. Otherwise, it will not be called top-grade, but the ultimate spirit stone. Suchonga's fingertips lightly touched on it, only listening to the sound of Zhao. There was an extra wisp of impurities on the fingertips, as if peeling off a cocoon, and soon the impurities in the spirit stones were removed, and all of them were promoted to sparkling spirit stones. And on his fingertips, a black ball of impurities gradually condensed. The impurities of the 1.89 billion spirit stones, the impurity ball gathered, was very huge, like the size of a football ball, very heavy. Due to the relatively large number of cullings this time, during the whole process, the spiritual power in Suchonga's body was quickly consumed, but soon he absorbed the spirit stones and refilled the spiritual energy. He calculated how many spirit stones he absorbed to replenish the consumption in his body. This doesn't matter. As soon as I calculate it, I suddenly found that I had consumed 20,000 top-grade spirit stones. In other words, 20,000 top-grade spirit stones were exchanged for 1.89 billion top-grade spirit stones. Nima, this is a burst. Suchonga's face was red with joy all of a sudden, and he couldn't help but excitedly say, the inheritance of the quenching spirit master is really awesome. Next, he walked out the door, found a secluded place where no one was, and took out half of the ultimate spirit stone, ready to awaken the dark soul emperor. As for why he didn't wake up in the house, it was because he didn't want the dark soul emperor to see the two women. What if he gave birth to some evil heart? This kind of old silver coin, you must guard against it. The most important thing is that Xiaoyu and Lear are big beauties, and they are currently letting go of their posture to sleep. How can they let this old man see it? Should you have a diaphragm or not? Anyway, this kind of sharing thing, you can't do it yourself. Not long after, the Dark Soul Emperor woke up and a figure emerged. Suchonga took out the broken sword and handed it over. Senior, there is no one here, you can smelt this sword. Good, good, good. The Dark Soul Emperor's heart moved, and with a snort, a wisp of fire appeared on his fingertips. This flame is cyan, extremely pure, and it can be seen that it is pure blue. Young man, this is my unique true fire. I used it to kill a ghost emperor. Right? Ha ha ha. The Dark Soul Emperor did not forget to praise himself, and then began to smelt. I saw that his fingers lightly touched the broken sword, and the broken sword suddenly melted, turning into a wisp of gold juice, and a piece of golden metal floated in the gold juice. The Dark Soul Emperor raised his hand and pointed a finger, and the piece of metal suddenly flew out of the golden juice. Suchonga looked down and saw that this object was a palm-sized piece of divine gold, with dragons flying phoenixes on it, engraved with various ancient dragon patterns, strange lights flashing, dazzling, faintly revealing the breath of divine vicissitudes. This is the dragon pattern divine gold. Do you know, that broken sword was able to kill all sides because it had such a piece of divine gold inside, and countless great cultivators died tragically under its blade. But now, with the vicissitudes of the sea, the years have changed. This sword has long decayed, and it no longer has the glory it used to be, but the divine gold inside is intact. Go, take it and insert it into your own sword weapon, and your sword weapon will be reborn in no time. Just as he finished speaking, the figure of the Soul Emperor darkened and fell into a deep sleep. Suchonga smiled. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. Dragon pattern divine gold is so cattle, then removing impurities must not be. More cattle? And then brush back the subsidy must not be more and more cattle? Raise your hand a little on the dragon pattern divine gold. Zhao dash. As the voice sounded, the impurities in the dragon pattern divine gold were instantly removed, and the whole piece of divine gold suddenly shone brightly. As if it was poured from the purest gold in the world, the essence shimmered. Shining, brilliant. Huang Suchanga couldn't open his eyes. By removing impurities, this dragon pattern divine gold transforms into the ultimate dragon pattern divine gold. Cool. Suchanga endured the ecstasy in his heart, put it in a storage bag, and immediately walked towards the residence of the beautiful master. Along the familiar road, he soon came to the gate of the small courtyard. Squeak dash. Pushing the door in, I was greeted by the graceful figure of the beautiful master, wearing a plain white long dress. Her waist was unbearable, and she was facing away at the moment, looking into the distance, a little out of mind. Master? Suchanga shouted from afar. Unexpectedly, Yi Qingyao did not agree, and was still in a trance. Master? 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 Suchanga shouted 3 times in a row, until the third one fell. Yi Qingyao reacted, hurriedly turned around, and said softly, "Apprentice, you are here?" Suchanga was puzzled. "Master, what's wrong with you? Why have you been out of your mind?" A bitterness flashed at the corner of Yi Qingyao's mouth. Du Sihai came just now. What? Suchanga raised his eyebrows, and a bad feeling surged in his heart, asking, "What is he here for?" Yi Qingyao said in a deep voice, "He jumped around angrily just now, saying that Huang Jiulong was beaten outside last night, and the one who beat him was terrible, covered in blood, ran back from the direction of the buried sword villa, and almost didn't die halfway. But he asked Huang Jiulong if he was beaten in the buried sword villa. Huang Jiulong said no. He asked where it was. Huang Jiulong didn't say whether he was dead or alive, he just said don't let him pursue this." Suchanga's eyes suddenly brightened. "Nonsense, Huang Jiulong will definitely beat to death, and not say it. Once he says it, the matter of the soul milk will definitely be exposed at that time. Then the secret of his cultivation skyrocketing will be leaked. After all, with so many earth soul milk, a pig can break through so many realms in a row. If Du Sihai, an old trader, was allowed to learn his secret, then everything about him would be revealed." Yi Qingyao said again at this time. Du Sihai asked him if he couldn't ask, so he suspected that it was. Speaking of this, she seemed to sense that there was something not to say and stopped. Suchanga sensed that there was something in her words and said, "Master, what's wrong?" Yi Qingyao did not answer, but looked straight at him, as if to see through him. Suchanga's heart was a little hairy when she saw it. Could it be that Du Sihai suspected that he fought by himself? Yi Qingyao looked at him for a long time before he opened his mouth and asked, "Apprentice, you honestly tell Master Wei, is there a very powerful master around you protecting you, and that master, is it a white-cloaked figure wearing a mask?" Her voice was solemn, as if she was exploring some great secret. Suchanga's heartstrings tightened slightly, and he asked rhetorically, "Master, why do you say this?" It was Du Sihai who said it. Yi Qingyao glanced in the direction of Tiantai Peak and said, "He came over early this morning, and he shouted angrily, saying that there was an extremely powerful master by your side protecting you, and asked me loudly, 'Did your apprentice instruct that expert to beat Huang Jiulong violently?' I refused to answer because I didn't know." His face turned red with anger, and he flicked his sleeves away. Speaking of this, she approached Suchanga, stared straight at him, and said, in a deep voice, "You honestly tell Master Wei, is there really a master protecting you?" Being stared straight at by her, Suchanga raised his head and said without changing his face, "Master, no, it was made up by them. It is estimated that because Huang Jiulong was beaten, Du Sihai was very distressed, and because he was wrong with our peak and hated us, he bit people like a mad dog." When these words fell, Yi Qingyao's eyes were still staring straight at him, but he did not speak, but his eyes flashed slightly suspiciously, thoughtfully. After a few breaths, she asked again, "Well, since you think he is biting people indiscriminately, then I have one more question, I hope you answer it truthfully." "Master, please ask," Suchanga said. Yi Qingyao coughed, her expression became extremely solemn, and said in a deep voice, "That white-cloaked figure won't be you, right?" "Well?" Suchanga's eyes froze. But it soon turned into ordinary and calmly said, "Master, this problem, you will know it at the tournament. By the way, I still have some opportunities to send you here, nothing else, I will leave first." He took out a storage bag, put it in Yi Qingyao's arms, and then quickly got up and left. The storage bag contained exactly 1.89 billion ultimate spirit stones, as well as a ultimate flame attribute beast core and ultimate dragon pattern divine gold. Yi Qingyao looked at his back as he left quickly, a flash of essence flashed in his eyes, and said thoughtfully, "I don't admit it, still." "Not you?" She had long suspected it. The apprentice is very similar to the white-cloaked figure, whether it is appearance, temperament, and demeanor, it is very similar. Even the heights are extremely similar. Who is he who is not he? But he clearly can't cultivate. And there is also a doubt, that is, his voice is different from that figure. Because of this, Yi Qingyao has been slow to confirm in her heart. More importantly, she couldn't believe it. And today, Du Sihai came and directly ignited this fuse in her heart. That's it, wait for the tournament. She sighed, and her heart began to look forward to the tournament. Suchanga went out, and after walking a long way, he turned around and looked at the small courtyard with a complicated mood. "Master, the disciple didn't mean to hide it, just wanted to give you a surprise. Wait for the tournament, the disciple will shock the whole sect." "Well, so that everyone up and down the entire sect will be shocked that you have a disciple who opened up 22 caves and triggered the 10 trembling of the Daoyin. If the disciple admits it now, when the tournament comes, you won't have a surprise. Don't worry, at the tournament, the disciple will give you a long face, and it will be a blockbuster. Everything you want to know, you know." With that, he clenched his fists and turned to walk towards his residence. When I was about to arrive at the hut, in my mind, the system's subsidy arrived. Ding. You sent 1.89 billion ultimate spirit stones, and the tens of billions of subsidies took effect, triggering an excess critical attack. This excess critical attack multiplier, 630,000 times. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 11.9 million and 7 quadrillion ultimate spirit stones. It's trillions again. Suchanga's heart moved, and he was suddenly overjoyed. Last time, that spiritual vein brushed a trillion level, and this time it was a trillion level. Cool. It's so cool. This feeling of brushing money is simply not too cool. If I could brush money like this in my previous life, I would have bought a Mercedes-Benz BMW a long time ago. Ah, what Mercedes-Benz BMW you wanted, it was all garbage. Directly bought a helicopter and returned to the countryside to send red envelopes to the villagers to repair roads. This thought just flashed in my mind, and the next subsidy suddenly arrived. Ding! You sent a supreme flame attribute crystal nucleus, and tens of billions of subsidies took effect, triggering an excess critical attack. This excess critical attack multiplier, 640,000 times. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Ancient Molten Flame Crystal Nucleus. Ancient Molten Flame Nucleus? Suchanga was slightly stunned, obviously not figuring out what this thing did. The system sounds. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2AA54Z8b. Ancient Molten Flame Crystal Nucleus, the essence crystallization of the body of the ancient demon god Yenji, after absorption, can have the ability of molten inflammation, and with one finger, it can erupt red magma like lava during volcanic eruptions, which can corrode everything in the world and dissolve it alive. Groove. Suchanga jumped up happily all of a sudden. That's awesome. I wonder who can survive such a high-temperature molten corrosion. Without waiting for half a second of happiness, the next subsidy will arrive. Again. Ding. You sent a piece of Supreme Dragon Pattern Divine Gold, and tens of billions of subsidies took effect, triggering an excess critical attack. This excess critical attack multiplier, 650,000 times. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Eternal Real Gold. Suchanga has not yet returned to his senses. The system sound has sounded again. Eternal True Gold, extraterrestrial metal, also known as Eternal God Iron, is extremely rare and difficult to find, and can be used to inlay weapons, can also be used to fuse other metal forging Dao weapons, and can also be used to forge holy soldiers. What? Saint? Holy soldiers? Forging saint soldiers? Suchanga was shocked when he was solid, and everyone was numb. He knew that piece of dragon pattern divine gold was upgraded to the highest level divine gold, and the treasure subsidized back would definitely be extremely terrifying, but he didn't expect it to be so terrifying. The point of being able to forge holy soldiers. What is a holy soldier? That is an extreme weapon. Almost every one of them is the existence of various terrorist forces suppressing the background. Unless it encounters a catastrophe, it will never be easily dispatched. Immediately, Suchanga took out this piece of real gold. I saw that it was a piece of gilded metal, the size of a fist, heavy in the hand, and the texture was round, a bit like a treasure jade, and it felt very smooth. Wait a minute, no, only this point, how to forge holy soldiers. Suchanga suddenly frowned. This metal is only the size of a fist, and it is not enough to forge a holy soldier. As far as he knows, to forge a weapon, at least a piece of metal the size of a sword, right? Even if it is a forged meteor hammer, which is the most material-saving weapon, it must have two pieces of metal the size of a fist, right? What is good to do about this piece? How about saving up? Suchanga planned to wait for the system to subsidize more eternal true gold before forging saint soldiers. He intends to forge a sword. After all, although the meteor hammer saves materials, it is too ugly and does not deserve his handsome face. How handsome the sword is. Only a sword is worthy. After making up his mind, he put the eternal true gold into the Shenhuang pagoda of heaven and earth, and immediately prepared to absorb the ancient molten flame crystal nucleus. He took out the molten crystal nucleus from the system space, and suddenly felt extremely hot, as if he was holding a fireball formed by underground lava, very hot. On the surface of this crystal nucleus, there is still hot magma flowing and blue fireworks, which looks very terrifying. This ability to erupt magma is undoubtedly terrifying. Think about it, the two sides are fighting, you violently get a basin of hot magma and splash each other's heads. How desperate should the other party be? Without hesitation, he immediately found a secluded place where no one was and began to absorb it. He placed the crystal nucleus on a stone, put his right palm on it, and with a buzz, the crystal nucleus entered the body. Suddenly, Suchanga only felt an extreme heat flow, like magma, entering the body, flowing through the meridians in the body, swimming through the whole body, and finally infused into the bones. It is known that the human body has 206 bones. This heat flow did not leave a single bone, and all 206 bones in his body were instilled, and in an instant he felt that his bones were hot, and he felt that his body had almost become a magma under a volcano, scalding hot, and it seemed that even the blood in his body was boiled, making a boiling sound. Time passed slowly, and an hour passed in the blink of an eye. The sound of boiling water in Suchanga's body gradually became smaller, and finally stopped. And the hot and burning feeling in the body gradually disappeared. This represents that the ancient molten flame crystal nucleus has been completely absorbed by him and has the ability to erupt magma. Experiment with it, Suchanga said to himself, and immediately got up and went back to the house. Near the hut, there was a piece of granite with a very hard texture, and he was ready to use this to test his new ability. In his previous life, he learned through some popular science books that granite is notoriously hard. How hard is it? This is one of the hardest rocks on the surface, second only to diamond, and is not only hard, but also resistant to acid, weathering, water erosion, and compressive strength. Along a road, Suchanga soon came here. He walked to the granite, and with a fingertip, a wisp of fiery red, almost red into deep black, flowed out and shot towards the granite. Suddenly, the granite was poured with magma, and suddenly green smoke was emitted, making a corrosion sound of zila zila, and anyone who heard this corrosion sound would feel a heartfelt horror and creepy. But for a moment, the granite was corroded by life, and a large hole appeared in the middle, and the surrounding of this large hole was constantly corroded, and finally it became a hole the size of a bucket, which looked shocking and extremely terrifying. Is it so powerful? Suchanga was overjoyed. Since it was only an experiment, he didn't use his full strength. If you use all your strength, this granite will be directly corroded. If this gets on a person, must not corrode his flesh and bones into a pool of blood? The results of the experiment made Suchanga very satisfied. Immediately, he went back to the house. In the hut, Su Lianyue and Xiaoyu didn't know when they had fallen asleep. Their little faces were flushed, one of them muttered, "Gongzi," the other muttered, "Master." They were all talking in their dreams. Suchanga originally planned to absorb all the 11.9 million and 70,000 billion ultimate spirit stones for them. After all, their ascension was the same as their own ascension. But seeing them sleeping so soundly, he didn't bother. At this moment, there was a sudden sound of whoosh outside breaking the wind, followed by the sound of footsteps, approaching this side step by step. Suchanga raised his eyebrows, immediately pushed the door out, and immediately faced Sikong-tu's gloomy face. He was about to open his mouth to ask what he was doing, but Sikong-tu had already sneered and spoke. "Hey, little transparent, the great elder asked me to pass on the message. He has already summoned the entire Tiantai Peak to list you as a key care object. Wait until the tournament, you know." As he spoke, he rubbed his fists and laughed wickedly. Suchanga didn't understand a little, closed the door to prevent Sikong-tu from seeing Xiao Yu and Lier, and asked, coldly, who is the great elder you are talking about? You don't know? Sikong Tu looked at him rather speechlessly, and said coldly, it's Elder Lu. No, it's time to call him Lord Lu Feng now. Read more novels for free on our website, tinyurl.com/2aa54z8b. So it is. Su Chang'e roughly understood. It should be Lu Wanhong. Lu Wanhong relied on Huang Jiulong, and now he can be described as soaring into the sky, directly becoming the chief elder of Tiantai Peak. Isn't this the great elder? And it is the position of the peak lord, then the people below must inevitably flatter and stammer, and don't they directly call the peak lord when they are usually called? Senior brother Huang was beaten by someone, and Lord Dufeng suspects that it is inseparable from you. Sikong Tu coldly added, Lord Lu Feng also thinks so, therefore, Lord Lu Feng orders Quan Feng, you must die. I kindly remind you that you have now become a thorn in the eye of our Tiantai Peak, as long as you can be killed, even if you can get a broken finger, no matter who it is, no matter how low your status is, you can directly become an inner disciple, and you will get a special reward from the Peak Master. It is equivalent to saying that you are now a walking meritorious library in our eyes. Without further ado, wait for the tournament, you are dead. Su Chang'e snorted in his heart and sneered, what if I can't die? Sikong Tu was about to open his mouth to scold, but a voice sounded very abruptly from the distant Tiantai Peak, and then a figure cut through the sky, anger rushed into the sky, mixed with gushing anger. Can't die? What a fart do you fart? Sikong Tu was stunned. That's not what he said. He turned his head to look, and after seeing the person coming, he hurriedly bowed down and said with great respect, I have seen the Peak Lord. Excuse me. The person who came was Lu Wanhong. At this time, he had changed drastically compared to before, and the whole person was refreshed and radiant. On his body, he wore an extremely gorgeous Taoist robe, inlaid with incomparably dazzling pearlescent gemstones, and a royal blue dragon pattern satin belt was tied around his waist. This is the robes of the chief elder, a symbol of status. Since Lu Wanhong rose to the position of chief elder, many elders who were originally higher than him turned upside down to flatter and stammer. They did not call the elder, they directly called the Peak Lord, and they were extremely respectful to Lu Wanhong. To be honest, this huge change made Lu Wanhong a little floaty during this time. Right now, his nostrils were facing the sky, and his disdainful gaze looked Su Chang'e up and down, looking from head to foot, and finally snorted coldly and said contemptuously, if you can't die by then, this seat will swallow dung and commit suicide. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly noticed a piece of pierced granite not far away, and his heart suddenly felt cold. My mother, who did that? You must know that granite is extremely hard, containing many complex particle minerals, very dense, strong, even diamond, known for its hardness, it is difficult to cut a crack on its surface, but now shot through? And it was shot through such a big hole? For a while, Lu Wanhong was shocked. He had a palm-sized piece of granite on him, but to be fair, even he could hardly hurt it. But he quickly came back to his senses. It may be Yi Qingyao who did it, after all, listening to Lord Dufeng, she had a heaven-level divine weapon in her hand. P.S. Thank you for the 3 inspiration capsules rewarded by Ice Phoenix God Sect. Who loves roasted corn? Yesterday, crab. Little author, thank you very much. Others are also available, thanks next time because of the space problem. Finally to the friends of the headline. Yesterday through a friend said, I learned that there are so many people reading my books on the headlines, and there are messages I didn't know before. Here I recommend that you use the Tomato-Free Novel app to read it, so that I can see the comments of the big guys, so I can reply in time. This book is free, so you don't need to read it on the headlines. Oh, come to the app to see the genuine version, how fragrant it is.